Good evening and welcome to Wolfe County High School Esports Action. Tonight's matchup features your Wolves Blue and the Scott County team Carnage. This is the Final Four matchup of the KHSAA State Esports Playoffs. So exciting matchup tonight, Drew.
Yeah.
We've got two of the best teams in the state going at it head to head. We're going to jump into our champ selection here and see how our students are doing.
As we immediately get off, we start with Wolfe County's bands, who will be selecting Vel'Koz and Zerath. As we go back to the Team Carnage, who banned immediately starting off with a Nasus. As they now move to their second band, banning Irelia.
Okay.
Both pretty solid bands on their parts. We now go back to Wolfe County, who will be banning their third pick for the first round of bands. As they go immediately with a Sejuani band. So 3 very solid bands from Wolfe County there. As we now go back to the last band for the Team Carnage, who banned Jace.
Okay, so that's the first round of bands. Now we get the first pick for Wolves Blue.
As Wolfe County immediately goes with a Caitlyn lock-in for the ADC. We now go back to Team Carnage, who will be locking in their first champion. As they pick Orianna.
Okay.
So this will be the first time Wolfe County's faced against an Orianna this season, if I'm right. As they now go with a Zyra support pick as well. We now go back to Wolfe County, whose jungler's picking. As he locks in the Jarvan. So a Jarvan selection for Wolfe County's jungler. Now go back to the mid lane for Wolfe County. As he hovers and he's hovering Kennen. As he goes with a Kennen pick. So Kennen lock in for Wolfe County. So now go to the last pick for the first wave of picks for Team Carnage, who selects Poppy for their top laner. Now go to the second wave of bands, starting with Team Carnage, who go with a York ban. As we go back now to Wolfe County, who will be banning, or this is their first ban for the second wave.
Careful consideration. Both teams here using their time wisely. You can see the timer counting down on both sides. So let's see who Wolfe County goes with the ban here.
A Varus ban. We now go back to the last band for Team Carnage, who go with the Alistar band. And we now go back to the last band for Wolfe County, as Wolfe County locks in a Trundle ban.
All right. So now we enter the last phase of champ selection. Team Carnage gets their fourth pick.
As their ADC locks in Nunu for their jungler. We now go back to Wolfe County, who will be locking in Silas, potentially.
That's who is being hovered right now is a Silas pick, but they have to lock in their choice, so
Yeah.
let's wait and see who they choose.
As Wolfe County does lock in Silas. And we now go back to Wolfe County, whose last lock-in for their support is hovering Galio. As he locks in the Galio pick.
Okay.
So Wolfe County's made all their selections as we now go to the last pick for the Titans, who are hovering for their ADC. And they lock in the Lucian.
Okay.
So both teams have selected their champions.
So now the champions will be traded around to get in their proper roles, as we see. Is that the final setup, Drew? Is that how it's going to go?
I think that's what they were talking about. Cody going
All
top
right, so
lane.
Cody in the top lane here has got Kennen. Then we have Jarvan in the jungle. and then Silas in mid lane, Caitlin in the bot, and Galio as the support. All right, so let's take a look here at your starting lineup. Your Wolves Blue for Spring 2019 is senior Cody Sargent in the top lane. In the bot lane running ADC, we have junior Cameron Caskey. His support is junior Jeremy McKinney. In the jungle, we have junior Matt Riley. And in the mid lane, we have senior Brendan Bush. So that is your Wolves Blue for Spring 2019. We also want to take this time to thank our esports sponsors, Appalachian Wireless, Mountain Telephone, Licking Valley Rural Electric, Farmers and Traders Bank of Campton, Whitaker Bank of Campton, and Sweet Art by Stephanie of Campton, Kentucky. So we want to thank all our esports sponsors this season. We'll go back here to our champ selection. We are on a 3-minute delay, so Drew, what are your thoughts on this matchup today?
Well, between the two teams, we are going to see a lot of team fighting going on just based on the comps we have here between the Kennen ult from Wolfe County as well as the Jarvan's ult, Galio's ult and taunt as well. With Silas being able to steal any of the enemy's abilities to be able to use for his own, such as the Nunu ult, the Orianna ult, the Poppy ult, the Zyra ult, all of those to his disposal if he manages to grab them and use them at the right time. As well as, the same way goes with Carnage, Team Carnage. They also having a pretty good amount of team fight potential with Poppy's ultimate, Nunu's ultimate, Orianna's ult, as well as Zyra's. So both teams are going to be pretty, even on that team fighting front. Now, in terms of individual lanes, it will be a little interesting because this will be the first time this season that Wolfe County's top laners played Kennen, at least in these matches, to say so. In the individual lanes-wise, Kennen and Poppy, Kennen does have a lot of poke potential in the top lane versus Poppy. Poppy's a very, strong, engaged tank type champion, but Kennen should be able to pretty safely stay back and poke her with his Q, as well as his auto attacks, and do some pretty good damage up there in the top lane, being able to sustain away from her. Between the jungles, Nunu a little bit more tanky, a little bit more sustained than Jarvan, but Jarvan does have a little bit more burst damage than Nunu, as well as a little bit better escape with his E and Q combo. Between the two mid laners, Silas and Orianna is going to have a pretty substantial poke advantage in the mid lane, with the fact that she's got range and Silas is a melee range champion. But Silas should be able to counter, when he gets to level 6, he should be able to engage pretty effectively on Orianna, using her ult as his own, and be able to win those fights. Hopefully pretty well. But again, Orianna's probably going to take advantage and abuse him pretty early because of that poke that she has. Between the bot lane, Caitlyn, again, being the longest ranged ADC in the game, she's going to have the range advantage on Lucian. But Lucian does have a pretty solid burst potential, too, with his passive double auto attack that he gets off every time he casts an ability. So if he's able to get to her and use all of his abilities on her, he'll be able to out damage her pretty easily. Unless, Galio will be able to peel Lucian off of her. Again, the same way goes with Zyra. Zyra's going to be able to abuse them both pretty easily down the bot lane. She's going to have a pretty good amount of poke with her plants, so it'll definitely be an interesting matchup, to say the least, between the two teams. We now go into the next 10 seconds of the delay, as I will go ahead and transfer the camera over to the league client. So as we get into the game here, and let's go ahead and head on over there. Alright, both teams have loaded into the game now as the Fountain D spawns and both teams move to their respective lanes. We see what might be an early invade here from Wolfgang's attempt. We see Kennen and Silas both moving down into the bot side jungle, maybe looking for a counter gank of their own. Although we do see Wolfgang maybe being a little aggressive here. We see Nunu and Poppy headed straight for the top lane for that red buff, as we see Orianna sitting towards topside Pixel Brush. Kennen now leaving lane, headed towards his topside blue buff to ward it, or watch in the event of an invade. As the rest of Wolfgang sits in that bush outside red buff, we see Caitlyn moving forward now as she goes toward the bot lane Pixel Brush. Laners are now moving out of lane. We see Jarvan and as well as Caitlyn and Galio moving towards their red buff as Silas sits in the bush again, waiting still for a little bit of a potential gank. Zyra and Lucian sitting towards their red buff, watching against a jungle invade. As Silas now decides to leave jungle and move to lane. Silas now moving under tower as Kennen sits towards the blue buff, watching it. Orianna does drop a ward in the Pixel Brush, though, so we do see Zyra and Lucian sitting down in that bot lane tri-bush, waiting for a little bit of a maybe cheese strat here. We see now both teams are starting to leash as minions have passed the lanes, and the game has begun. We see now Galio and Jarvan and Galio, and we're giving that early leash. We see Zyra and Lucian waiting in that bush now, as Caitlyn's forced to flash over the wall for that very early cheese strat by Team Carnage there, waiting in the bush. Caitlyn taking some of that range to her advantage there. Really early in the game, though, it should be pretty tame for the most part. But again, these are both two really high-tier teams in this season in play versus, so we might see some early action from either team this early. So who knows? As we start with Jarvan now moving out of his bot lane jungle, moving towards his top side now. His buff has been warded, so he has been, he's not worry-free of getting that counter gank. So we see now Nunu moving towards mid lane for an early gank on Silas. Silas are being level 2 now, able to dash with his Eve pretty easily out of the way of that Nunu invade. Nunu is still staying mid lane, now moving towards bot, as Galio takes a little bit of damage from Lucian there, as Lucian is able to avoid tower damage. Again, Kennen there taking advantage of that range early in the top lane, being able to poke down Poppy. See Caitlyn using her range to get that farm off safely from way back in the distance. You see Jarvan now securing his blue buff as Nunu moves towards and secures his wolves. Kennen staying top lane, gonna get some auto attacks off on her. Orianna landing the QW combo on Silas, taking some pretty heavy damage in the mid lane. Again, Silas gonna have to play a little passive until he gets the ability to go in and engage on Orianna. Again, the QW from her again. Silas eating away a little too late, though, not gonna be able to avoid any damage there. As we see Caitlyn getting hit from the Lucian W. Taking a little bit of tower, not going to be able to get much of that farm. Tower's going to take a lot of it. As you see, Lucian and Zyra is going to have them push pretty heavily back in their lane early in the game. So, it's going to be like that for a little bit. We see Jarvan now continuously farming in his jungle as Nunu does go for his red buff. Caitlyn and Galio getting caught both by that root from Zyra. Caitlyn's still going to be able to get her Q off pretty easily onto Lucian there, getting some pretty good damage in return. Silas going to take continuous damage mid lane again from Orianna. As we see Kennen keeping Poppy pushed under her tower. Jarvan has now backed, though, out of the jungle. Going to go and cash in some of that gold real quick. As Wolfe County is down currently 400 gold at 4 minutes in the game, which isn't anything to say any means in this early in the game, but it's just something I wanted to go ahead and point out. We see Kennen sitting top lane, going to try and do some damage on a ward dropped in the bush there by Poppy. As Jarvan now moves through his bot lane jungle towards his Krugs. So Silas staying a little passive down the lane, in mid lane, deciding to back off under his tower. Going to try and sustain a lot less damage than he has been. Kennen's going to tank some autos there from Lucian. As again, both lanes play pretty passive. Nunu moving through the bot side jungle now up towards the top, or now towards mid lane now, as he now goes through mid lane towards top side jungle. Kennen now backing off in lane for the first time so far this game. Still landing abilities there, connecting to Q. Pretty long range though with Poppy, so good damage there on his part. Silas is currently sitting at half health pretty continuously in the mid lane. Oriana doesn't have the health advantage on him as well as that range, so he does tank another QW combo from Oriana. We see Galio again. We see Jarvan going for his Wolves now, or sorry, Raptors in his bot side jungle. Nunu moving through top side jungle with the aid of the snowball, headed towards top lane, maybe looking for a gank here. Actually, no, as he decides, as he decides to off, he's now going for a top lane invade into Wolfe County's jungle. Going to try and look for something. He's not going to be able to find anything, though, as Jarvan's already cleared it out. Jarvan does move through the jungle where Nunu just was, but as he goes to go his Wolves, which is the only thing that Nunu didn't try and go for, even though that was the only thing that was actually in the jungle at the time. Kennen is level 6 top lane. He's going to try and engage on Poppy. He does go for the flash with the ultimate combo. Poppy's going to try and run away, trying to do anything, but not before Kennen's able to secure first blood with his Q. So, good engage there by Kennen in the top lane, taking advantage of that poke and be able to make it the end of Poppy, as she's able to not escape his ult. She didn't try and flash there, so she at least knew that was going to happen. She could have attempted to flash, but it was a little too late for anything to happen, as Kennen did secure first blood in the lane. Now shifting the goal to route 200 in favor of Wolfe County. We're currently sitting at 1-0 at 6.5 minutes for the first kill secured. You see Poppy teleporting into the top lane now, as Kennen is backing at the same time. Caitlyn does get the trap off. We see Galio with the taunt landing on both Lucian as Lucian flashes, but before Galio's Ignite can finish him off. Wolfe County now currently sitting at 2-0, managing to get that kill off on Lucian. So good engage there from Galio. Good disengage as well, getting the taunt on both Zyra and Lucian. Caitlyn almost landed the Q there on Zyra, but a little out of range. You see Galio going in with the dash, attempting to maybe get something there, but not before Zyra's able to back off. Caitlyn does dash back as the taunt is activated by Galio, trying to get that plant taunted, which I don't know if that's possible. We do see Nunu coming down bot lane as Galio and Caitlyn are going to try and back, but can they back before Nunu gets there? Not before Nunu gets the ult off on, or the snowball off on both of them. Caitlyn is going to flash though, as well as Galio. Both do get away, so Caitlyn narrowly escapes that bot lane gank from the Nunu, who did manage to get his snowball off on both of them. So that was almost the death of Caitlyn, but she did narrowly escape. The electrocute proc top lane, or no, sorry, electrocute's got clipped up. The damage proc top lane from Kennen again, just poking down Poppy little by little that he can. As Nunu now moves through mid lane, past Oriana, who is again staying against Silas, who does have Oriana's ult. He has stolen her ult. He hasn't had a chance to go and use it yet, but he does have it to his disposal at this time. He does go in with the engage. He's going to miss the second E, though, because a minion's going to tank it. So a good attempt, potentially was going to be happening there. We were about to see maybe Silas go in and engage on Oriana, but that minion might have messed up. We see Jarvan coming down bot lane with that gank. He's going to miss the QE onto Lucian. The taunt is going to land from Galio, though, as Jarvan does manage to run away pretty safely. Lucian did dash out of that, so he did play it safe down there. Jarvan almost did die, but Galio, not before Galio could come in with that taunt and land it and save Jarvan from giving a kill to Lucian. Both teams now again farming evenly. Jarvan has back now and is going towards his top side jungle. Probably going to go straight for his Wolves. As we see Nunu moving again through mid lane towards bot side this time. And Oriana and Silas continuously playing pretty passive in the mid lane. Caitlyn's going to get hit with the root from Zyra. The ult from Zyra as well, and Lucian both connecting onto Caitlyn. Caitlyn again sadly managed to was caught out there and did manage to get hit by both of the ults from bot lane. So that was a little rough for that early. As we do see, Nunu is going to try and go for an early dragon, the first one of the game. We see Zyra and Lucian moving up towards drag as well. This will be for a Cloud Drake. Kennen landing a Q there as well as getting his W off in an auto attack. The Wolf, they should be able to secure this Drake, no problem. Galio tries to get his Q over the wall, but just out of range of the dragon as Nunu is able to easily secure that first Drake of the game. Wolfe County currently sitting at 2-1 with a 500 gold lead in favor of Team Carnage. Silas's ult has gone now. Oriana's ult is not at his disposal anymore as he waits for it to cool down to be able to grab another one. We do see Jarvan moving down towards mid lane from top, maybe looking for a gank to that mid lane. Oriana now backing off out of mid lane as Silas is able to push up a little freely with a little bit less of a threat now that Oriana's not there. Oriana is now moving back to lane though, so He did have a little bit of breathing room there, but not for long, as Orianna does now return back to lane, as Nunu also goes through mid back towards top jungle. Sylas is going to engage on Orianna. He does land the E, as Orianna does get her QW off. Nunu going for a gank in the mid lane now, as Orianna's going to try and do something. Nunu is going to try and get something off, but not before Sylas well out of range for that snowball to be effective, and Nunu decides to return back to topside jungle. Going to clear a control ward that's dropped by Wolfe County in the topside pixel brush. Caitlyn is going to get flashed on by the Zyra. Galio's going to get the taunt off on both Lucian and Zyra, who is going to try and get the... As Galio does ult well too late after Zyra does get her ult off, as well as Lucian on Caitlyn. Root landing onto her as Lucian is able to secure a double kill down in the bot lane. Bot lane having a little bit of trouble right now. Again, Lucian is able to get that burst onto Caitlyn, not before Galio was able to get his taunt off there, so she did take too much damage, and Lucian was able to freely, ult there. We see Kennen dashing away from the Nunu and Poppy, as Nunu is able to get his ult off. Kennen does stopwatch and activate his ultimate as well. I'm really going to get ulted by Sylas. Sylas going in the mid lane. Sylas going to flash for Orianna, but not before she's able to barely escape, as Kennen, meanwhile, secures that kill on Nunu in the top lane. So score is now 3-3 with a 1,300 gold lead in favor. Sylas does dash with the Q onto Orianna, almost taking Orianna out, but Orianna is still a little bit out of range for Sylas. Sylas does have the potential to engage, but he is really low on mana, so he might not be able to do so pretty easily. Poppy does get the dash off onto Kennen. Kennen's going to get some auto attacks off as well, getting one of his W stacks onto her for the stun. Wolfe County having to play passive now in that bot lane. If they're able to play and peel off like they did earlier for Caitlyn, they should be pretty fine in the bot lane. But the last couple of plays where Caitlyn has been caught by Team Carnage in the bot lane has not done them very well. Orianna is now backing in the mid lane as we see Nunu just secure his Raptors, moving up towards topside jungle now. Going to drop going to go toward the pixel brush, I see, as we see Jarvan getting his red buff in the bot side. Jarvan being a little passive this game, not ganking as much as he is as usual, because he's been trying to more or less specify and trying to get that early jungle lead and then get those ganks really successful. We do see now Jarvan has backed, is going back to his bot side jungle, I assume? No, he's going to top side jungle. As Sylas goes to remove a control ward in that top side brush, or that top side mid lane bush. Kennen sitting top lane against Poppy, both pretty even lane. Zyra and Lucian again pushing Caitlyn and Galio under tower in the bot lane. Wolfe County having to play very passive in the bot lane, not the usual style, but again, they don't really have much of a choice with the amount of burst that just comes from the bot lane that they're facing. You see Nunu coming in for a gank down in the bot lane now. Lucian does dash, getting his cutlass on to Caitlyn, but not before we see Nunu trying to ult, but not going to be able to do much as he just does manage to clip Jarvan, doing a little bit of damage. But not very much done down there. A good counter gank, though, coming from the Wolfe County jungler there to manage to stop and get that bot lane of Team Carnage to disengage pretty easily. Sylas does rotate down, though, to bot lane from mid, as you see Nunu with another snowball going to the bush. Galio coming down, or Sylas also moving down towards bot lane. The snowball from Nunu not going to be able to connect anything as he cancels it early. Sylas does steal the Zyra ult, so he does have a good ult to steal for a team fight. Trying to set up for one, I believe. As he does get some auto attacks down on some minions. Caitlyn going to farm now as Sylas does move back up the bush. Zyra missing her roots as 2 wards are dropped in that bush. So a lot of vision in that area from both teams. Wolfe County is going to clear that bush, or that ward though, out of that bush as we see Sylas moving back to lane. Meanwhile, Jarvan was covering for him. So some good, rotations from Wolfe County here, definitely. As Kennen again sits in the top lane. Poppy has backed as well as Kennen. Kennen has secured Proto Belt, so he does have his first item built. Wolfe County do having a lot of damage taken on their tower. Not much pushed at all on the other, meanwhile on their tower. Kennen has teleported down into the bot lane, so I don't believe that there's vision on that bush now from the team, as Kennen is sitting there waiting for a push from them. We see Jarvan now going for his blue buff as Lucian and Zyra attempt to push the lane. Kennen sitting there continuously waiting for the right time to go in with his ultimate. He does have his Pro Belt too, so he does have a little bit of an easier engage if he's able to get Lucian and Zyra to come up to lane. So Kennen does move in from top lane. He's going to get the E off. He's going to proto belt as he gets the ultimate off. The W Q does land on Zyra. Not before Caitlyn's able to finish off Zyra. Or Lucian does attempt to ult to try and do something, but not before Caitlyn's able to secure that kill on to Zyra. So good engage there from Wolfe County's top laner, getting that stun off. He almost got it off on both of them, but was a little short of hitting Lucian. But he nevertheless giving that support kill to the ADC for Wolfe County. Giving Caitlyn that kill was very much helpful nonetheless. Lucian trying to fight off the two people down in bot lane now. Caitlyn is sitting currently at very low mana, but her being mostly reliant on her ADC isn't as much of a threat as most people would assume. You see Kennen now sitting in the mid lane. As Silas now moved to top lane. Silas might have a little bit more of a problem top lane versus Poppy. I mean, he is also a ranged champion too, or melee champ too. The stun does land on Orianna. The QE from Jarvan onto Orianna. The tower almost taking him out. Lucian managing to die to Caitlyn too. Nunu, Kennen, and Jarvan trying to stop Nunu. Nunu's going to try and get the kill here on Jarvan. The bite does land. Kennen taking a lot of damage from that snowball as he's going to try and get enough damage onto Nunu to secure the kill himself. A lot going on right there in that short amount of time. Wolfgang definitely coming out victorious on most of those fights, if not all of them. Wolfgang did sadly lose their jungle, but did manage to take out the jungler, mid laner, and ADC for Team Carnage. So good team fights overall from Wolfgang. Good communication on their part. You've seen Galio continuously trying to defend that bot lane tower from falling just ever long as possible to try and get some other lane to push up. The goal difference, let's go and check the CS real quick. I haven't checked the CS much in this game, but what's happening. Kennen is currently sitting at 4-0 top lane with a 115 CS to 96 lead over Poppy. A 20 CS difference in his favor. Jarvan also sitting with a little over a 10 CS lead versus Nunu. We see mid lane, Silas having a little bit of a rough time now with that farm again, sitting about 40 CS down on Orianna. As we go back to bot lane, Caitlyn also sitting down on Lucian, about 40 CS. Again, because Lucian's been able to go in and do a lot of burst damage, forcing her to back off and play defensive under tower, costing her a pretty good amount of farm. So she hasn't been able to do very much in the bot lane in terms of CSing. So overall, balance between both teams pretty evenly matched on the CS difference. Let's go back to the game real quick. As you see Kennen continuously, we might have seen a permanent rotation. Silas continuously sitting in the top lane as we see Kennen sitting mid lane. Nunu does have a snowball. He's going to try and get that rift scuttle or that scuttle crab down in the topside jungle. That Q from Caitlyn there does connect with Lucian, doing a pretty good amount of damage, but Zyra's plant doing as well a pretty good amount also onto Caitlyn. Ward is removed. They do have vision though of that bush. They might have seen Kennen coming down from mid lane, so bot lane is probably going to play a little bit more passive now, knowing that Kennen is probably still within jumping range of them. He does move up. Lucian does move up to the bush. As Kennen stays back, Jarvan is going to try and remove that control ward in that bush. As see Poppy now pushing the top lane, going to get some damage onto the turret platings. Or sorry, no turret plating. Turret platings have fallen. She's going to get us some damage onto the towers. As we see what looks like Nunu and Poppy are both going to try and secure Scuttle or Rift Herald. Sorry, we see Orianna also, yeah, they are definitely going for that Rift Herald before it despawns. Just trying to get some of that pushing back as well. Because Wolfe County sadly did lose their first tower. They lost the mid lane tower to Orianna. So the goal difference is still sitting very close. Wolfe County up currently 3 kills, but down a tower and a dragon, as well as that Rift Herald just being now secured by Team Carnage. So it's pushing that top lane now, trying to get his CS back up. Poppy has backed, or is backing currently in the jungle. We see Lucian and Zyra continuously having that bot lane pushed, as Kennen now sits mid lane trying to push that wave back up as well to try and get that turret. Wolfgang can usually try to hold on that second tower down in that bot lane, but just a little bit here and there, just enough to take out, 50 health here, 50 health there, just little by little whittling away. As Jarvan looks to maybe go for a gank down to the bot lane. Again, those 2 control wards down there, they do have vision of Kennen, so they do know that Kennen is down in the bot lane. They do need to get rid of that control ward. That would help them greatly in trying to get those successful jumps off. But again, those wards being proof that Carnage has to play a little bit more, passive and aware that Wolfe County's, actions because of that gank from Kennen down bot lane earlier. So they are dropping control wards to, for that specific measure. Kennen again moving down as he is a control ward in the Dragon Pit, going to try and get rid of that. We see Jarvan, Galio, and Caitlyn all sitting towards bot side. Tribush now. Caitlyn and Galio moving back towards the lane. Jarvan moving up through his jungle, back down to his Krugs. Trying to secure more farm. Kennen pushing the lane now mid, unrestricted, so he will try and get a little bit of damage often on that tower. Jarvan coming down bot lane, going for the engage maybe. He does get the Q off on some tower or some minions, but not going to be able to As we see Nunu now coming down bot lane, the Rift Herald is dropped down bot lane as well, onto that very low health turret, going to take a pretty good amount of damage on it as well. So Rift Herald has been dropped down bot lane, currently sitting a 2-tower-to-nothing difference over Wolfgang. Silas does go in on Poppy there, landing that second E, but not before she's able to run away back under the safety of her tower. Kennen trying to get away from Orianna. Orianna just continuously following him, trying to make sure that he doesn't get down in that bot lane, as Wolfgang is able to stop the Rift Herald from being dropped down there, or stop it from taking too much of that tower, but tower already down half health on second tier tower down to the bot lane. Wolfgang's going to have to start getting his objectives pretty soon if they're going to be able to, push up to that nexus. Orianna also moving down towards the bot side jungle. Silas trying to keep Poppy busy in that top lane, as we see Caitlyn, Jarvan, and Galio sitting towards that bush. They are going to try and go for that second dragon too. Another Cloud Drake. So Wolfgang is going to try and stop them from getting this here if they can. They are setting up for it, as we do see now them all backing. All of Team Carnage now backing out of that bot lane jungle. Wards everywhere, though. They do have a substantial ward difference put down into the bot lane, so we'll have to go and clear those wards out. We do see now Jarvan trying to get his blue buff, as we do see the rest, or the majority of Team Carnage rotating down towards that bot side for that dragon. I'm assuming they're gonna go. Yeah, they're gonna set up for that dragon. Try and get another Cloud Drake as Nunu goes to get that blue buff to his Orianna. Jarvan coming up top lane now is going to get the EQ off, but not before Poppy's able to stop his dash. Sadly, they are going to go. Team Carnage is going to get this dragon now. Dragon is up. They are going to be able to get it, no problem. Unless we see Caitlyn and Kennen come around and try and stop them. Not before they are able to get it, sadly. So Team Carnage does get a second Drake, a second Cloud Drake, actually. We see a trap being able to land onto Nunu there, allowing Caitlyn to do her bonus, or her extra damage auto attack onto him. Pretty good amount of damage there from her. So they are rotating up towards Baron, setting up for a Baron potentially. I don't think they'll be going for one this early into the game with the entirety of Wolfgang's team up. They are moving up towards topside, though, trying to rotate to get that tower. Again, getting these objectives really early, making a pretty big problem for Wolfe County with these towers. The tower does fall now, so currently sitting at 3 towers to nothing on Wolfe County. Kennen does try and go in here as Galio ults, but not before the entirety of Team Carnage does get out of range of it. So no fight there from neither team yet. An attempt was about to be made, but not before they were able to escape from it. Silas now sitting back in the top lane as Poppy tries to defend that tower from falling. Galio and Jarvan also backing in the jungle. Caitlyn has just now backed into her fountain now, moving back up towards mid lane, trying to push those minions off that mid lane. We do see Nunu now moving to his, going for his Raptor camp. Let's go and check the CS real quick while nothing major is going on. Kennen currently sitting about even CS versus Poppy. He's had a lot of roaming, though, so his CS versus her has fallen. She's been staying pretty much consistently in the top lane, so she's just had a pretty much free farming time. This also has allowed Silas, though, to catch up and farm as well. Silas currently sitting at 156 CS, but he is down currently about 40 to Orianna. We see Nunu down about even with Jarvan in the jungle. And then between ADCs, Caitlyn currently still about 40 CS down on Lucian pretty consistently. As we do see a Baron attempt started from Team Carnage, but not before able to back off. They are setting up for a fight here, I assume. We do see Silas and Jarvan moved up pretty close. Silas is in range, though. He's going to get jumped by the root from Zyra is going to land onto him, allowing for the rest of the team to converge onto him. Orianna being able to secure that kill with her Q. Wolfgang, you're currently still sitting up about 2 kills on them, but at this point the objective difference is pretty drastically in the favor of Team Carnage. Wolfgang's definitely have to get up on that, start getting those, objectives at the center of their attention pretty soon. Score is currently 7-5 with a 4,000 gold lead in favor of Team Carnage. with a 4 tower difference and 2 Drakes under their belt. It seems now that the majority of Carnage just now doing this pretty common strat, or this one specific strat idea of just rotating now as a group. Separate lanes not being so much of a concern now that all lanes are sort of pushed up. They're just able to push as a group and get these lanes that are slightly behind pushed up pretty far. And they're just going to kind of, take a step between each lane to try and get this working in their favor. Wolfe County doesn't have a chance yet, hasn't had a proper chance to set up for a team fight, but we might be able to see one pretty soon here. Both teams are sitting in the mid lane. Orion's going to throw a Q there, not be able to connect to anybody, as Caitlyn's sitting back. I think we're about to see something here soon. Silas gets hit with the E. Lucian ulting to the side, still connecting on Silas. Silas having to use his barrier. Almost dying there. Jarvan does jump onto Orianna, forcing her to ult away, or flash away, sorry. Orianna does get the ult off onto Silas, being really low when he went into that fight. Poppy is going to be able to get the kill on Kennen as well. And Zyra secures the kill on Galio. Meanwhile, Lucian secures the kill on Jarvan. So not a really not get engaged team fight from Wolfe County there. Meanwhile, this is going to allow for Team Carnage to go and easily set up for and secure an uncontested Baron. Caitlyn would try and attempt to stop it, but her by herself won't be able to do anything. She has to be forced to back off. The kills now being 9-7 in favor of Team Carnage with a 6,000 gold lead with a 4-0 tower difference. They do secure the Drake, or the Baron, sorry. So Baron is now secured by Team Carnage, giving a pretty solid push potential to them. Wolfe County is going to have to try and get rid of that Baron buff on them as fast as possible, or keep those lanes pushed up to make it to where it's not as effective as it can be. Kennen now moving towards top side as Silas moves back mid lane now. Jarvan moving towards bot side jungle, going for his Raptor camp as we see Caitlyn and Galio trying to push that bot lane wave off. We see what will be now another Drake attempt a third Drake attempt, third Drake gone after by Team Carnage, who will be going for a Mountain Drake this time. As we see Kennen split pushing that top lane, trying to get that first tower of the game for Wolfe County. Towers definitely, like I've said a couple times already, are a pretty big, important factor in this game, and Carnage definitely having the advantage in that department. And they do secure the Drake. Meanwhile, Kennen does split push that top lane now, and is going to try and get that tower before they manage to get there and stop him, or try and push that lane out. As Kennen does push the lane out, he might be able to get it, as Kennen does secure the first tower for Wolfe County this game. Silas trying to push them off. We see Lucian dashing in, getting the barrel belt on. We see the E from Jarvan trying to back off. We see Silas going to get hit by the snowball from Nunu, but not going to be able to engage on it. We see Kennen continuously pushing that lane up now, as the rest of Team Carnage pushes that mid lane back pretty far. So Wolfe County's top laner having to back now to try and stop them from getting pushed up too far into that mid lane. As we see, he does now return back to mid lane. Wolfe Carnage now having forced to back off. Wolfe County does now have some pressure in his side lane, and are going to try and take advantage of that and get these other lanes pushed up as well. Lucian going to try and get the blue buff for himself here, as Caitlyn tries to go towards it. Lucian does secure the blue buff. Galio going around clearing wards. Meanwhile, Caitlyn, Silas, and Nunu and Jarvan all sitting mid lane. Jarvan and Caitlyn now backing in lane. All of Team Carnage now converging back into mid lane again. As we see Wolfe County also doing the same, waiting for Galio to return. Sorry, Galio is not yet back in the lane, as we do see another push attempt here from them, as we see them now rotating towards bot lane to get that bot lane wave pushed out. Again, Team Carnage is continuously rotating between turrets, trying to get these side lanes pushed out, putting pressure on lanes, grouping up as a group. A lot of communication on Team Carnage's part here, and Wolfe County definitely needs to try and try and stop that as fast as possible. They do secure tower now, as we see Jarvan does go in, getting a 4-man ultimate off. Galio also coming with a 3-man knockup. Kennen with the ultimate as well. Nunu's ult stopped, as we see Silas does secure a double kill on Nunu and Orianna. Silas trying to get something there, but not before Kennen's able to get shredded by Kai'Sa, or Kale. Sorry, not Kai'Sa, but Lucian. The taunt from Galio landing, but this dash causing him to get caught out as Lucian's able to secure that kill on Galio from that dash. So a 2 for 3 trade there in favor of Team Carnage. Are going to be able to secure this inhib turret and are potentially also going to secure this inhib down in the bot lane. Galen trying to push him off and not being able to do anything as they're just, again, continuously pushing and just non-stop. And they will secure that inhib and decide to back off. The top lane now having been pushed back slightly. The minion wave's not working much in the favor at all for Wolfe County here, having to play defensive, having to clear this bot lane out. And Baron buff has been despawned for a while now. Baron might spawn in a couple minutes. Scores currently 12-9 in favor of Team Carnage with a 6-1 tower difference as well as a 7,000 gold lead in their favor. It's with 3 dragons as well, or 3 drakes, sorry. Nunu will secure the blue buff and giving it to his Orianna. Again, just a consistent amount of, just grouping from Team Carnage being a big issue for Wolfe County. Them trying to set up for these team fights, but not being able to do so very effectively, as a majority of them get out of them before the engages happen. Silas did manage to get a pretty good double kill there down in that fight, but not before, Lucian was able to go away. Wolfe County not being able to get a grip on that ADC being a pretty big problem. So, they do need to get control of that, because currently the ADC is sitting at a 6-2 score down in the bot lane. So he's probably the bigger threat for Wolfe County at this point, as they do secure that Scuttle Crab down in the top lane, or down in top side river. So I was trying to push that wave up in the top lane as Galio and Jarvan do the same in the mid lane. Kai'Sa moving towards bot side to clear it. Kennen also joining Silas towards top side now, as we do see a lot of potential roaming here. Maybe another team fight setup. We do see Kennen and Silas now joining Jarvan in the mid lane. Moving towards bot lane as Caitlyn and Galio also try and clear it. We might see another team fight set up here pretty soon. You see Jarvan and Kennen trying to clear a ward, or clear a thing out here. Kennen forced to flash away. The entirety of their team jumping him. Jarvan trying to get that as they hit the plant. Galio does ult, but he does get ult in the middle of a 5-man. So that was an unnecessary ult, but he did get caught out sadly. Jarvan does try ult onto Orianna, but not before Kennen is able to secure the kill on Zyra. Meanwhile, you see Silas getting the kill, shutting down the Lucian as very much needed, stealing the ult from him to do so, but not before Poppy and Orianna are able to clean them out and finish them off. Well, Team Carnage does get the ace, with 3 of their teammates still up. Poppy teleporting immediately down into that bot lane, onto that turret, going to try and secure that first Nexus turret. They will secure that try and secure that second turret as well. They will have to back out the Poppy, taking a lot of damage from that tower, as Wolfe County is about to respawn here. Galio is up, so he's going to try and clear that turret off. He does manage to get her off that second turret. So second Nexus turret is safe at the moment. So we might see a 4th Drake attempt by Team Carnage here, trying to get that objective down. So Nunu will try and solo the Drake, as you see Lucian and Lucian also going down bot lane with him as well. Lanes are now pushed off safely, so Wolfe County does have a chance to do a little bit of roaming here at this moment, maybe. They do secure. Team Carnage does secure Drake, so this is the 4th Drake, and then another Mountain Drake. As we see their team converging towards mid lane now. Silas or Zyra sitting towards top side, as the rest of the team also rotates up there with her. Kennen trying to get that blue buff. Zyra does steal the blue buff over the wall with her plants. So Wolfe County not converging mid lane, trying to play as defensive as possible, but not before we see, again, Carnage grouped, moving towards that top side bush. Going into the thing, we see Kennen landing the Q over the wall. Jarvan just get blasted over the wall. Kennen getting the Q off. Nunu trying to sit in the bush. We see Silas getting Q off over the wall. Stealing. Jarvan getting that 4-man ult off. Galio ulting in on top of them. Lucian does get the kill, though, onto Jarvan. Kennen does try and dash in with his ultimate as well, but not before we see Lucian just bursting people down. Oriana getting the double kill. Nunu securing the kill on Kennen as well. Caitlyn does get away at the moment, but not before it looks like they are going to be able to get down there and secure that. As we see Lucian and Zyra just running past turret. Going to go straight for that Nexus, trying to get that tower. All of their team up at this point, going for that Nexus as they do take it out, but not before an inhib coming up, just to stop it momentarily. But it looks like it is going to be taken down as Carnage does go for the Nexus and are going to be able to be the first and win this first round in the Final Four.
So this is a round of 3 or best of 3. So we'll be back in just a few minutes with the second matchup. The Scott County Team Carnage does come away victorious in round number 1. So stick around in a few minutes, and we'll be back with round number 2.